we have a very special guest we want to bring on.
That's right, Doug. Sue Jones is joining us today to show us what she's been doing to keep busy during COVID-19. Sue, thanks for joining us to talk about tie-dye shirts.
I'm glad to help. The shirts that you have to do, you have to wash them because there is a type of ingredient in the fabric that will mess the the color up. It'll bleach it out. So you wash it in the washer like you would usually wash a regular shirt, your detergent and stuff like that. Now, here the steps are to do the shirts. You always need something to protect your surfaces with because you don't want your mom, your dad, or your supervisors, if you're in a company, get mad at you for ruining the surface that you're working on. So tape it as well. So what you do for your items, if you have, there's different types of designs that you can do. There's the spiral, bullseye, heart. Then there is the pinwheel. I'm still working out the kinks on the pinwheel. So the dyes, they come in liquid or powder. Now to mix, you can use faucet water, but I prefer bottled water. For the bottled dye, you have to take and do half on the bottle, like half, like right up to here, and the rest water. And then you do with the same, but you only fill it half because it's powder, and then you have to shake it up to get it to mix, and then you fill the rest of it up. Then you have to have safety precautions for your hands. You have your gloves. And then to band the shirt, you have to have rubber bands. And I have a few shirts with me. Would you like to see them? This shirt I made for my nephew. It's a heart. He is only 2 years, almost 2. And that was pretty easy to do. What you do is you split the shirt in half, and then you grab it the way you would, like you would fan it. And then you would take your band and wrap it around that area. And then you take your dye and you put it all over where you want it. And that's how you do the tie-dye part. And then you have to let it for 24 hours. And then after that, you take and you put it in your sink or your bathtub, whatever's convenient for you. For me, it's the bathtub. And the dye won't affect you because it is absorbed into the shirt. So if you want to do it, sometimes I do it with my feet because the water's too cold. So for my hands, so I've rinsed it with my feet by pushing on the dye out of the shirt. It just depends on how you want to do your design. Another design I done is a bullseye with red and blue, and it's, my friend said it was for Captain America. And I said, yeah, it actually turned out like that, the shield. And then I have another.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to ask about the, when you do the dye, are those all done with the liquid dye or the powder? Because they're pretty much the same ones, just more of a concentrate, and you put that in there, you half it, and the other's just powder. So they're both going to work the same. You just get a lot more dye in your bottle, right?
Yes. For this right here, this is the liquid. You pour it in. I'll just mix up a little bit to show you.
Okay.
You take your bottle. Make sure you have something to protect your surface a little bit.
You could just use water to show us how much of the dye to put in, but that's okay. Unless you're going to use it, we don't want you to use up your dye just for the demonstration.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you will take just say I put dye in here.
Yes.
You open your bottle of water, you pour it in.
Pour as much water in as the dye would, just to give us that amount. So that's how much dye you would put in?
Yes.
And then you fill the rest up with water?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you would make sure you would mix it together, you shake it.
Okay.
And then there's your dye. And it's basically the same with your powder, but you see there's powder in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is you only fill it right up to here because it will clot and not mix properly. And then after you do that, you shake it really good, and then you add the rest of the water.
Okay. So with the liquid, where do you usually go to get that?
Mm-hmm.
You can go to any craft store. Like I used to go to AC Moore before they closed. But you can go to Walmart, any craft store like Joann Fabrics. I went to Walmart for my dyes. I got a case that had the powder, and it can be up to $19.99. It just depends on how big the cake you get. And then there are these. These are $5. But they're $4.99, so $5 for one bottle. And then, then you can, to mix, you have to have like a ketchup bottle. You can get them at any Family Dollar store or any store that you can get a cheap bottle at, because you don't want to ruin your parents' dishes.
Oh no.
So here's a question. And now, there's different thoughts. Some people say that when you're mixing up the dye, you use cold water. Some people like to warm water for the dye. Which do you prefer? Or do you use room temperature? Okay.
Room temperature, but some directions say to use hot water, because that's what we did, me and my friends at school. That's where I got started on this, was when I was in high school. We did a t-shirt, and we had to bring in our own t-shirts and stuff. We did that, and they did hot water. They put it on the stove and got it cooking and stuff. So then they took it out and put it in buckets with the dye and mixed it up, because it was one of the powder box dyes that you can get instead of like these.
And so there's like a whole bunch of colors you can choose from. So you can pretty much like go for any design you wanted, any color you wanted. So there's quite a bit to choose from there.
And then I have other t-shirts. Would you like to see them?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay, you've already seen the two that I made for my nephew. Then here's another design. What I did was I took the bands and I put one here, 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 and all the way up until I stopped right here, and then I made that the main color.
Oh.
And then it just depends on what sizes you do, and how much dye you would have to use. Like this, you couldn't use the powdered dye because it would take more effort to mix up the dye than if you would use a big bottle like this.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So how many washings? I'm assuming that the colors look a lot more rich and dark when you first make it. And then as you wash it, it starts fading. How long will it last, the dyes last as you keep washing the shirt before it all fades out? Or does it last a long time?
It lasts a long time. One of the processes, after you wash your shirt when you start, you do it wet, then you leave it in a bag. Put it in a bag, like a grocery bag, make sure it don't have no holes, and you put it in there, tie it up, set it aside. Make sure you have a place to sit it, like on a floor, so it won't leak on your surfaces. And then you let of course, like I said, you set for 24 hours. And then after that, you take and you put it in your sink or your tub, whatever you have accessible. And you cut the bands, and then you can, but make sure you have gloves so you won't stain your hands for the first few rounds.
I see.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Any other tips that you have? Does it always have to be a 100% cotton shirt, or can you use like a 50-50 blend, or what have you found is the best?
For me, I have only done cotton because that's what was told by a friend of mine.
Okay.
And for her, it's worked for her. So I've stuck with the cotton. I get mine at Walmart on sale. This one was $4 because it's a large. And there's different ones. You can get ones with pockets or without pockets. I made this one for my brother. He likes pockets. So I got that for him.
Perfect.
And I have a big family. I'm still working on getting their t-shirts made. But my tip is always have help beside you. So if you make a mess, always have someone help you wipe it up, because it can drip or wherever you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great tips. All right. Well, thank you very much, Sue. That is fantastic.
Yes.
And a great thing that you've been doing, and something to keep you busy during COVID-19. And you get some nice custom fashion out of it, not just for you, but your whole family.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can do it for friends too. I just have to have the funds because it's pricey.
There you go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boy, that was fantastic about tie-dye shirts.
Oh, yes, it was. That reminds me, I think I've got one in my shelf at home that I'm going to have to grab and wear more often.
Now, did you make it or did you buy it?
I bought it. It was off of Wish, but it's like a really dark blue color.
Oh.
So it mixes between dark and light blue. But it's really
I wish I had one, but I don't have one. I'll have to make one. We made one last summer during our summer day program, inclusive summer day program. We made them, and we got the kits from Walmart that had the powder, and that worked really well. But that's great. We appreciate Sue doing that. So